Pluto in the 8th house. The 8th house relates to Scorpio, which is quite clearly Pluto's domain. Older translations of this area of the chart suggest that this is the area most connected with the great imponderables of life, of existence even. Life, sex, power and death. Modernly, it is now understood as being concerned with self-empowerment, one's psychological states, how one deals with fear and self-acceptance, and how other people's resources and values affect the individual's life. Pluto in the 8th house brings an element of gravity and depth, which cannot be denied by the individual and should not be trifled with by others. It brings an evolving understanding of the true nature of power. When Pluto in the 8th house is under good aspect, it is potentially at the peak of its power. Here can be found the aspiring shapeshifter, constantly seeking to cleanse, purify and refine oneself in an alchemical or shamanistic way. This is the caterpillar transforming into the butterfly, going through a metamorphosis that allegorically brings a more refined, visionary and beautiful perspective. This can also be seen as the individual periodically shedding their skins, snake-like, whereby every so often they go through some type of voluntary detox that removes a lot of metaphorical excess dead weight. This is the invulnerable one who goes into the dark willingly, knowing that the darkness is only the absence of light and there's nothing really to fear. This is the person who holds no fear of dealing with substantial amounts of money or authority, either their own or that belonging to others, because these people have a deeper understanding of the nature of value and resources than most, and hold little attachment to that which can be merely bought. This is the position of the phoenix rising from the ashes, refining and purifying oneself on a constant mission of regeneration and transformation into something stronger and power-filled. The wisest of all with this position understand that they are powerless and that the power in them is not theirs. Instead, they are just acting as a conduit for the power and expressing it in a way that is seen to be ethical, transparent, and for the benefit of all. However, sometimes with even the best of aspects and intentions, the sheer power of Pluto in the 8th house can sometimes push the individual into necessary solitude. As a client of mine eloquently states, on the one hand, there is a certain pride in sensing of being a chosen individual, whilst on the other, it can give rise to a subconscious reaction in individuals, sometimes to the point of aggression, even when their conscious mind can find no reason for their aversion. People generally do not like to sense greater power in others, even if the power comes through rather than is generated by. They perceive it as a threat, and self-awareness of this gift cannot always ameliorate the situation, since it is, by definition, uncontrollable, and therefore it can, if necessary, be made to withdraw, if possible. When in a neutral aspect, Pluto in the 8th house will bring with it the willingness to go to the very bottom of whatever it is that needs dealing with. And then, whilst they are at the very base of the matter, they will get the scouring pads out and really scrape away at all of the roots of any metaphorical poison. The concept of purging and cleansing is at its most basic of levels here, and it holds no fear for these people, on the grounds that if they're going to do anything, they're going to do it properly or not at all. Pluto in the 8th house gives more than a passing interest in the concept of life before birth and life after death, regardless of religious persuasion. The problem can be that the emotional experience can be so intense that the individual feels that they must control it instead of learning to just flow with it. An inhibited person with Pluto in the 8th will always insist on knowing exactly what the schedule is, when the breaks are, and what the outcome will be in order to not panic about what might be or go wrong. At the same time, there can be a basic approach to elimination that can be scary to lesser mortals who do not understand that ruthlessness is neither good nor bad, just an occasional necessary rule of engagement. These are the people who, if ill, will go to bed for 2 days with the lights out, lots of blankets, garlic, chili and ginger, and just sweat for 2 days, and then suddenly they're better. Lurking in the back of the mind is the notion that they could be trying just a little harder, but this only inspires and spurs them on to greater achievements. The nature of the 8th house is to strive. never willingly being satisfied with ongoing situations, and instead looking to refine and purify, if necessary, by doing things the really hard way. Under challenging aspect, Pluto in the 8th house can be a difficult energy to manage. There can be, when young, the fear of being without money, without love, without friends, which in turn can generate an almost phobic attitude towards possessing things or people. Because the nature of the 8th house is that of the more hidden or occluded sides of life, the rational and analytical side of explaining problems does not work here. Instead, there is a need to be aware of the potential for obsessive or compulsive behavioural patterns, which, if not acknowledged and worked with will invariably lead to periods of crisis or trauma brought about by the building of unacknowledged or repressed pressure and stress, like a boil rising to the surface to be dealt with. There is a need to almost stalk oneself at times, to allow the transformational urge to pass unhindered through one's life. Pluto in the 8th can have the desire to have total and exact control over one's circumstances in life. This clashes with the free will aspect of other people's lives, sometimes erupting in titanic power struggles, which inevitably end in failure unless there is a total honesty with oneself and others about motive and reasons. And this is most obvious when it comes to sex, as once these people learn to trust both their partner and themselves in the bedroom, they make the most consummate of lovers. However, the road to that trust is littered with tempting diversions and easy distractions, and by not facing and dealing with the shadowy side of oneself, one only attracts the same shadow energy from others in a way that simply cannot be ignored. Pluto in the 8th house from The Law of Pluto, Reshaping the Void, by me, out on October the 10th, worldwide, through all good booksellers, signed copies available from me.